Do you get any messages from other friends? They're away or going to come? Happening? Why only 5, 6? Will they come? Still coming here. Will they come? See they come on the way. What? What? Within next 2 minutes time, let's start the discussion. Kita tinatanggalan ni Negro to, kaya continue yun. So get ready with the handout. We are moving to the new topic. Within 2 minutes, I will start the discussion. Right, good morning, everyone. I hope those who are connected through online can hear us. Can you? Online participants, can you all hear us? There are 21 participants. When the response was not clear, but can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. And I hope you can see the screen share here, right?
Yeah, sir.
Right, great, thank you. Stay connected. Only few participants here physically today, but we can't wait furthermore. It's already 45 minutes late. So then let's start the next topic. This is 8th session, I guess, on operations management. We will have few more sessions, probably 5 or 6. And the topic number 5 and 6 that we try to cover today. And as you see it here, it's about operations, facility, location planning. So operations, facility, location planning, and then that decision that is very important for any business. Whether that is a manufacturing business operating in a small area, or a manufacturing business operating within a country or across the globe, right? They have to decide where to place their factories and operations, other operations facilities. So we will discuss more about that, not only for manufacturing facilities, even for service industries. When it comes to their service facilities, they have to carefully decide where to locate them. That strategy or that decision is known as location strategy. So there are different strategies used by different industries, different companies. So let's try to identify what are the key concepts, key factors to consider, how this decision should be made. And accordingly, we have certain learning outcomes set. We have to identify why the location decisions are important for businesses. And then, of course, what are the different options available for them? Location options, we call them. And then, when making location decisions, what factors to consider, how they should make the decision. Especially in the global context, when we think of different continents, different parts of the world, for multinational businesses and all, location is a key factor that determines their competitiveness in the market or in their supply chains. So from global context to regional to the country level, we will identify different factors that businesses should consider when they decide about the location. So we will identify what factors to consider somewhere in the middle of the lecture. And then we will also discuss how this location decision should be made. Is there a way to make the decisions? Are there any steps to follow? So we will identify the decision-making process for location decisions. And at the same time, towards the end of the lecture, we will also identify are the same factors relevant for service industries, or the factors, location factors relevant for manufacturing industries and service industries are different. So if so, what are the differences? What are the key factors that we try to understand here? Right. Towards the end, we will also discuss 1 or 2 techniques popularly used or commonly used for making the location decisions in a more systematic and appropriate manner. We just started, you can quickly join with us. So we are going to talk about facility location strategies applicable for businesses from operations management point of view. So these are the learning outcomes. Quickly go through and check whether you can understand it. Hope you have the handout. Right, I hope every one of you have the handout with you. Refer to that time to time so that you can easily understand. We're going to expedite our discussion now because we spend a lot of time to start, to initially understand operations management, operations decisions, why they are important, and other basic stuff. Now you are in a position, I guess, that they're like it, so that we are going to expedite our discussion and try to cover a few more topics since we are short of time as well. So, what we mean by operations facility here? And often people or the students misunderstand it. What we mean by operations facilities here, not the infrastructure facilities used in businesses or required for businesses. No. Operations, as we have mentioned earlier also, operations facility refers to the buildings, premises used for operations. Is that clear? So operations facilities means the buildings, premises, and other physical structures like warehouses or sales outlets, such premises where operations are taking place in organizations. So, operations facilities include different buildings, premises within which the operations are taking place. Machines are placed, operating staff is working, customers coming and involved in operations with the service providers to get done the service. So, facility location then refers to where such buildings and premises are located. Where those operations facilities are located physically. In which side of the road, in which area of the city, at which side of the country, which country of the region. So like where the factories are located. So it says it refers to the geographical position of such operations premises, buildings, and other key operations resources of an operation system and its components. There can be different other components as well. So usually when businesses deciding where to locate their factories and other operations facilities, they consider their operations requirements. What type of operations would be taking place in the factory? Not only that, they have to think about the supply side of it as well. What are the main inputs required? How easily, how efficiently they can bring down the resources and other inputs required for the factory to operate smoothly. Otherwise, they will be in trouble. Right? Both supply side factors they should consider together with operations requirements. Not only that, businesses in general will have to consider the market factors also when they decide the operations locations. Market factors, where the market is, who the customers are, how to transport the completed products or finished products efficiently to the market. And for that, we have to locate these. So those are the key considerations. At least these three aspects. Not only the operations should be considered, but not only operations, but the supply side of it and the market side of it. So we are going to discuss more details about. So let's see what are the main operations facilities that should be located. What type of facilities? As you see it here, it may refer to locating factories. Factories in manufacturing industries, right? They one of the leading export sector we have is garments factories. So a company or group of companies like MAs, right? MAs, apparels, right? So given the operations requirements and various other factors, they have to decide upon their factories. It could be within Sri Lanka, in different districts, different locations. Or could be other countries nearby or outside this region as well. Right. So where to place their factories, their plants is a key decision. We'll discuss more examples later. In addition to factories and plants, there are other facilities also like warehouses. You know warehouses? Right. The building that is used to store products. There can be raw material warehouses where the raw materials are stored until they are used for the production. We are to locate them. So as finished goods warehouses. Finished goods warehouses, the place where finished products are stored until they are sent to the distributors or to the market. So we have to locate that building. It's a location decision. So as other facilities like distribution centers, if they are into the distribution side of the business as well, right? Send them to the wholesalers, send them to the retailers, or send them to the end customers. They have to decide where we should place our distribution centers, covering different regions, different market segments, to smoothly coordinate the sales and distribution. So that is also a location, distribution centers, DCs. That is to smoothly distribute the product. So as some businesses, they may also into the retail part of it. So retail outlets, showrooms, branches, right? Including their after sales service providers, service repairs and all. So we have to locate such. So hope you can understand a business given their operations. Have to decide upon different facilities and we have to locate them. Within next 1 hour or so, we quickly try to understand how to make this decision in a systematic manner in a business. Right. I hope that is clear. And that decision is known as location strategy. What is it? Location strategy of the business. Also known as location planning or location analysis. Right? Location planning. So this is how we can define it. Location planning, facility location planning can be defined as the process of identifying the best geographical location or locations for the businesses production facilities or their operation system. In case of service industries, service facilities. Where to locate. So there should be a process, decision-making process with the involvement of different experts, especially top management and operations management, and carefully decide where to locate their factories and other operations facilities. The decision is known as location strategy, also known as location planning. It's a very important decision. Different businesses, based on their understanding, may locate their facilities at different places. But in general, we believe this should be the common objective when they make decisions about locations. What is it? What is the common objective of location strategy should be? Maximize the location benefit to the business. Maximize the location benefit to the business. Meaning, depending on the location, there can be some advantages and disadvantages. They should be able to analyze them in a systematic, comprehensive manner and find a location that gives them maximal benefits, location benefits, and minimize location disadvantages. So that is the primary objective that we should keep in mind. And thereby, how that location would improve the competitiveness of the business. Because to compete with different other competitors, they should have some capabilities. In fact, if you make the right decision, the location itself, right, could be a good source of competitive advantage. If you design the location appropriately, the location itself would be a source of competitive advantage. We will discuss more as we move forward. How the location could be a source of competitive advantage. You know the meaning of competitive advantage, right? So what is the advantage you have over the other competitors? So location could be one such competitive advantage. If you make the right choice, considering the right factors relevant for your business. Right, that's about location strategy. Is that clear? We have to place your operations facilities. Consider the various different factors relevant. I will further describe the nature of this decision and then other further details. But prior to that, there are things like we call them location options, meaning location options. These are the situations where businesses or the managers will have to make location decisions. When they should make location decisions, location options we call it. Of course, one obvious situation would be when a new factory is required. Right. To establish new facilities, we have to make location decisions. Assume, as an entrepreneur, you are going to start a business, you don't have any place. Now you have to think of a place. Any new business, thinking of a new production facility, they have to think of a place to establish new factories. That is, of course, one common situation where they have to make location decision. But is that the only time? Is that the only situation? No. There are other situations as well, other location options as well. The second one that is mentioned here. Now, they have a factory at a place, but over a period of time, when they try to expand the factory, probably establish new machinery, they try to establish new production line, so they try to expand the factory, but unfortunately, the space may not be enough. So now they have to think of a better place. So to expand existing facilities, they have to make location decisions. Relevant for both manufacturing factories or service outlets. Third situation. While maintaining the existing facilities, keep adding one or few more sites to expand their operations into different geographical areas, different countries. So that is the third option. While maintaining existing facilities, keep adding one or few sites. That is the third option. And the fourth one is closing down the existing factories and relocating them due to various different reasons. That is another situation where location decisions should be decided. We call it relocating strategies. Relocate. Close down one place and start it at a separate and better place. So these are the different options. Whatever it is, location decisions are critical decisions for any business success. As management students should have a clear idea about it. You as management accountants, future management accountants or financial accountants, finance managers should have a clear idea. It's a critical factor that determines the success of the business. The strategically important decision for any type of business, including both manufacturing and services. Third point here, given the current business environment, where international businesses, multinational businesses, and then of course what we call global supply chains are becoming popular. What is it? Global supply chains. We'll discuss about supply chain a little later, but products are manufactured through supply chains that operate from different countries. Such we call global supply chain. Say for an example, the same apparel industry. If we take garment factories located here in Sri Lanka, there are many. Why is that? Due to some reasons. We have location advantage. We have had some location advantages few years ago, 10 to 20 to 30 years ago. So locating garment factories here in this part of the world, South Asian region, in a country like Sri Lanka was a good decision 30 years ago. Because we have a locational advantage. Like what? Basically, labor cost. In the global supply chain, there are certain industries, we call them labor intensive. For that, the main required input is the labor. The main cost determinant is the labor cost. So they are established in countries where the labor cost is low. So coming to apparel industry, though the factories are located here, most of the materials, supply materials, such suppliers are operating from other countries. There are different materials required, supplies required for garment factories. Like what? What is the main ingredient, main material required for garment factories? Hello? Fabric is the main input required. In addition to that, there can be buttons, badges, right? And various other things, including packaging materials and other things. Right? So there are different suppliers who can supply them at a lower cost, and they are operating from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So in a global supply chain, when it comes to supplying fashion apparels to European market, supplying fashion apparels to US market under different brand names, right? The factories are located in this part of the world and materials are manufactured in other countries. They are supplied to these countries and then the final production is done and then the finished product is transported to the market. Could be Europe, could be US or other countries. Such global supply chains demands or requires more carefully located factories in different countries. So, as the third point mentioned here, location decisions have become increasingly global decision now. Global decision. So the factors they consider are different. We will discuss more later. So this decision impact on the cost of operations, both fixed cost and the variable costs. So that's the operating cost. Fifth point, as you can understand, location decision is a kind of infrequent decision. Infrequent, not a decision you can make and change quickly. Once you decided upon a place or a site and establish the factory, you can't move it. You can't change the place as you want. So it's a kind of long-term investment, long-term decision. And as a result, you have to make it very careful. After considering different aspects and future requirements, not only the current requirement, because you cannot change the place. Can't change the place as you want. So that is the nature of location strategies. You as future managers, future accountants, future finance managers, right? You have a clear idea when there are proposals coming from your factory managers, production managers about new sites, expansion of their factory facilities. You should understand this is a critical decision. It's a long-term decision we are going to make. If we do not make the right decision now, that will affect to next 5 to 10 to 15 years business performance. So you have to support the factory managers to make the best decision. That is it. Once you committed to a location, you can't change it. So as a result of that, there can be more other issues like cost issues, or operational issues arising. If you mistakenly locate your factory at the wrong place, inappropriate place. Yes, as we discussed, factory locations, facility locations significantly affect the operations performance of a business. That means whether they can operate smoothly, whether they can complete operations and send the products efficiently, whether they can meet costing requirements well within the standard costs. Most of everything, operations performance will be determined based on the location. Not only that, the overall performance of the business, like the revenue, the profitability, overall success, can also be influenced by the location. So that is clear. So that is to understand why location decisions should be considered as important strategic decision. Is that clear? You can write down something you need. Meantime, you can ask questions. Those who are connected online, and also ask some questions. Something is not clear. Any questions? No. Then let me ask a question then. Now, since we identify, hello, since we identify these location strategies of a business or location decision, it's very important decision. In your understanding, who are responsible for this decision? Who may involve in decision making? Who may be involved in deciding the locations? Any good guesses? Who decides upon the location? Keep all these medium to large scale businesses aside. Assume that you are going to start a business. Right? Let's say it's a retail business. You have a good supplier, right? Can supply the product you want to sell. Now you have to establish a retail outlet and sell the product. Right? So deciding the location of retail outlet. Is that a location decision? And yes. Right. We have to place your retail outlet. But now location decision. Now who would make that decision? Basically, as the owner, you might decide. So usually the business owner decides. We have to locate the facilities. Now we'll discuss the other things later, but usually, like entrepreneurs we see, or the people who want to start businesses, where do they select as the locations? Do they consider it as a serious problem? What have you seen? Small to medium scale businesses. When they want to start a business and decide upon a location, often they go for the place that is available for them, that they can find at a lower cost. Isn't so? Maybe the same premises, like where they live, close to that place, they might find a place and start the business. Isn't that the way? That is how it happens. They might open a retail outlet close to their house and think customers will come and buy products from them. There are many such businesses started on daily basis, weekly basis. But what happens after a few days, few weeks, few months time? They realize that they are waiting in the shop, no one is coming. And number of customers visiting the place is very limited. So after a few weeks time, few months time, they decide to shut down the business. Isn't so? That could be due to very many other reasons, but one main reason could be the inappropriate location they have decided. Do you understand it? We can't expect customers to come and buy from us if we are at a wrong place. Instead, we should have carefully analyzed the different places available, where customers usually visit, what place would be better, and then decide the location. Right? Consider the cost and other things also, and start the business. Can you understand it? That is location strategy. For a small to medium business, for small scale business. Coming to medium to large scale, and then of course large businesses, they consider it seriously, and usually a team headed by the top management involved in location selection. Their operations manager is also a part of it. They can't alone decide, but they recognize these facilities like the factory, warehouse and other facilities are used for operations mainly. So operations managers' opinions, suggestions are considered seriously. However, this is an investment decision, long-term investment. So finance and the top management, other top management necessarily involved here. And they look at the problem from different angles and bring their opinions and discuss and then finally decide what is the best place out of the different options available. That is how they have to make it. Clear? So even in your answers in the exam, you should be able to give that idea. It's not only operations managers, other top management involved. Even the managing director, final approval should come from the top. Right. Now let's see how systematically managers or that team should make this location decision. For that, different industries, different businesses consider different factors. They follow different processes. What we identify here is that commonly, in general, we identify these two ways of decision making for locations. Two main ways. The first approach, we call it cost-focused approach for location decision. Right? Cost, by considering the cost-related factors, also known as supply-side influences. Considering the operations and supply side and the cost, they decide upon the location. Because the location is a major determinant of the cost. Let's identify what are the different factors and other things. But such industries consider the cost as the main factor. Cost focus. When you look at the textbooks, and then of course industries, mostly in manufacturing industries, like apparels to rubber-based products to consumer products to consumer durables. Manufacturing industries, when it comes to their operations facilities, among many other factors, they mainly focus on the cost factors, supply side factors. That focus is called cost focus. For what industries? Mainly manufacturing. What is the second approach? Second approach that we can identify is a revenue focus. Simple understanding or simple idea is that when deciding the location, they mostly consider the revenue possibility, the volume of revenue they can generate from different locations. You know why? Location is a major revenue factor too. Based on the location, the revenue that you can generate could be varied. There are industries, they decide the locations based on the revenue factors more than the cost. So what type of industries this is more commonly applicable? When we look at it, we identify it's mostly for service businesses. Service industries, when it comes to their facilities, they are considering revenue aspects. What are the service businesses? It could be banks. It could be banks. It could be hospitals. It could be restaurants, hotels, police stations, education institutes. And more than anything else, retail outlets, shopping malls, shopping supermarkets, when they decide the locations, more than the cost, what they have to think about the revenue. Customers available in that area. Number of customers and other factors. I hope you understand it. Right. Hello, we identified two approaches for location strategies. One, cost focus, considering the cost side of it and the supply related factors, mostly applicable for manufacturing industries. Second one, revenue focus, looking at the revenue possibility, mainly applicable for service industries. Clear? That is in general, but there are many other factors to consider. You have to decide whether the revenue approach would be better than the cost approach. Does that mean some of the service businesses completely ignore cost? No. Does that mean some manufacturing businesses completely ignore the revenue? No. But they prioritize it and at the same time think of the revenue as well. Right. I'm moving to the main slide here, slide number 8, where I have mentioned what are the key factors commonly used. There are many factors, right? What are the key factors mainly used when deciding the locations? There are many factors that different businesses will use. You may understand some of them, you may not understand some of them. Don't worry. So there are many factors plus more and more. Only few mentioned here. Second, you can understand. Usually businesses decide upon the locations, follow with the global supply chain requirements and global trends. And it's not a secret. Factories are located based on the labor cost and labor productivity. Lower the cost, better the location. Higher the productivity, appropriate, better the location. And other factors like exchange rates should be favorable. Currency risk should be reduced, should be at lower level. Political risk should be minimized. The values and the culture should match with the company requirements. Considering proximity to the markets, how close we are to the market, where the customers are. Proximity to suppliers and proximity to supply networks. Proximity, how close we are. Proximity to suppliers, very important. Because that determines how quickly you can get the transport. You can get them transported. And the transportation cost. Proximity to custom suppliers. A critical factor. And at the same time, proximity to markets. How quickly we can deliver or distribute the product to the market. What would be the distribution cost? If they are to cover far away distances, cost would be higher. It would take longer time. How about the last point mentioned here? We call it proximity to competitors. That's also a factor. Yeah. where the competitors are. Sometimes businesses decide disturb ඔගොල්ලෝ කනෙක්ට් වෙලා හිටියේ නැහැ කියලා අපි වාක් කියන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දැන් මෙතන එනකොට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ තමයි බරක් වෙලානේ. හැබැයි we are in a process. So proximity to competitors. That means businesses decide to locate some of their factories and other outlets close to their competitors, especially in services. In fact, that's a well-known strategy. We call it clustering. Locating close to your competitors. You may have seen, especially in services, in the same area of the city, most of the restaurants are located next to each other sometimes, close to each other. That's clustering. Banks within a district or within the city, most of the commercial banks are located in one area. Most of the supermarkets are located close to each other. Clustering. Those are simple examples. There are many global examples also. There are certain districts, certain areas are known for certain businesses. That is true for each country and each region across the globe. So those factors are there. I'm not going to explain further details, but think you will understand it. Considering those factors, businesses should identify location factors. The global factors are the things, This is a simple example. Volkswagen automobile factory operating from Europe, Germany. But most of the components and other things are supplied from different suppliers across the globe. Final assembling is done at certain factories and the products are sold in different parts of the world. So as for other businesses. Locations. It's a global issue. And I hope that is clear. So at the global level, the key factors they consider can be listed out like this. This is slide number 10. At global level, when they evaluate different regions, different countries, factors like these are considered. We call them global factors. Just have an eye and have a look. I'm not going to explain. If you have a doubt, I will explain. You have to consider some of these factors and many more. Mainly the macro environmental factors like political risks, government's rules and regulations, incentives and other things. Plus economic condition of the region, economic condition of the country, cultural issues, where the markets are. How about labor cost, labor productivity and other factors? Availability of suppliers and other infrastructure facilities, basically like communications, the energy cost, from region to region, from continent to continent. Energy cost could be very drastic. And then, of course, exchange rates, currency risks, and other factors would also be considered at the global level. And accordingly, they decide upon a country or region first. These are more applicable for large countries like US, India, China, because even within the country, there are different states. So They are considering whether to locate only within the country or other regions of the world. For a small country like Sri Lanka, you have to compete with other regional countries to attract more businesses to Sri Lanka. So this is at the global level. And the next level we call slide number 11 gives you further. The list is more lengthier. Certain more factors are mentioned here as global location. At undergraduate level, just have an idea is enough. Right? So factors like these are considered when evaluating different regions and selecting upon countries as well. So we call them global factors. And the second level, within a region, when they evaluate different countries, or within a big country, different states, decision makers would consider some more specific factors. We call them regional factors or community factors. Within a region or a country, in case of big country, different countries or states, they would be they evaluate it based on some of these factors. We call them regional factors. So if we go through the list, more business specific, industry specific factors are considered there, like availability of labor cost, attractiveness of that region, infrastructure facilities, availability and cost, special government incentives, government fiscal policies, and more importantly, raw material availability and proximity to the raw materials. Whether the market size is just adequate, proximity to markets, and then of course environmental regulations they consider. Because for most of the manufacturing industries, there are strict rules and regulations that monitors environmental pollution, environmental damages and all. So they have to find locations where the regulations are relaxed. And the cost of the land, cost of the constructions would also be considered. And slide number 13 gives you more regional factors that are considered in the. Have a look. More factors. Regional factors, community factors. So some of these are very critical. Anything that is not clear to you? These are more industry specific, business specific factors, right? More than the macro environmental factors. So these are the common factors even in a country like Sri Lanka, businesses would consider when they decide upon the country, whether to come to Sri Lanka or go to India or Bangladesh or Vietnam or Kenya. Some of these factors. As you understand, as business students, Sri Lanka is experiencing a kind of economic downturn during the last 5 to 7 years. To overcome this, as the government has clearly mentioned, we need to attract more and more FDIs, isn't so? Foreign direct investments. There is no other way. Because internal investments would not be enough. So for that, we have to compete with other countries and show that Sri Lanka is a better location for them to come and invest and start production here and then export to other parts of the world. To attract more FDIs, what we have to do is make our country a better place in terms of these aspects. Attractive place. Nothing else. In terms of labor, availability of labor, their skill levels, their cost, their competency should be at a higher level. And we anyway have an advantage. And because of free education, because of high IQ levels, right? Sri Lankan labor force is known for better IQ levels and better talents. They are quick learners. Both operational level, managerial level, competences can be developed faster. So we have an advantage in terms of labor, except the cost, labor cost has been increased during the last few decades. But we have advantages over availability, education and all. But there are issues with the other factors. As a market, this is a small market. So compared to India, next to us. How many times India is bigger than Sri Lanka? In terms of market, that's a huge market. So more investors would prefer a country that has a huge market. Whatever they can produce, they can sell. What is the advantage for them if they come here? So that is what they consider. That is another factor why we can't attract more FDIs to Sri Lanka, because the market size is small. But we'll have to overcome that. So likewise, there are other factors like taxes, raw material availability, transportation cost, and various other factors. Government regulations, incentive packages proposed by governments through the budgets, through the fiscal policy are important. You get some idea? Incentives, maybe tax relaxation, tax holidays, maybe import-export concessions, tariff concessions. So like this. So this is about region or kind of community, like or country selection. And after that, within the country, when selecting one specific site, they consider some other factors. We call them site factors. Sites. So assume that they have selected Sri Lanka as a country. Now within Sri Lanka, where they should establish the facility. Assume now for a new power plant, electricity generation power plant, we have got an FDI, foreign direct investment. Now they have to decide which specific place within the country they have to establish it. So that is a site selection. Garment factory wants to expand their factory capacity. So they might think of a particular location within a district. That is a site factor or site decision. So such decisions are made based on these factors. Site factors. More operational oriented factors are considered. Like size of the site, initial acquiring cost, land cost, construction cost, availability of transport systems. Are there any zoning restrictions, government regulations, environment regulations, or zoning restrictions? And factors like proximity to other supplies, other services, require environmental issues, and even customer density and demographics as well. Customer density, size of the market within that place, and within a square kilometer, how many individuals are living, population density. Some, especially manufacturing businesses, when they look for little isolated places, they would go for places that has lower density. But for service industries like retail businesses, so shopping malls, supermarkets, they would prefer places that has higher customer density. You get that point? Not only the number of people living there, their demographics also important. Demographics, their income levels, their living standards, lifestyles, expenditure habits, everything they will consider when deciding upon this funds. Not only the number, but the demographic factors. So likewise, the next few slides explain most of these in detail. But for the time being, I'll stop it there. Just go through these slides up to slide number 20. Clustering examples are mentioned in slide number 21 and 22. So quickly go through those areas and check whether you can understand. Those who are connected online can also ask some questions. Slide number 23 shows you location factors that are mostly relevant for service industries. No major difference. Most of the factors applicable for manufacturing industries are also applicable for services, but that's a key difference. What is that? As we already identified, for most of the services, they consider the revenue they can generate from different locations. The revenue is mainly dependent on the market size. That means how many customers are living there, and there are demographic factors like their income levels, their lifestyles. So they mainly decide the location based on the volume and the revenue. So the easy access to customers is a key factor to consider coming to service industries. And other factors, purchasing power of the customer, growing area, competition in the area, and other factors. After a small break, we will be talking about the decision-making process. And I have listed in slide number 24. After the break, we will talk about this simple process. Right? That would be useful for managers to make location decisions better or in a systematic manner. Before leaving for the break, mark your attendance. You may mark the attendance and I hope you will be back around 10. Hello. Hey, language save now.
Então, mulher, de tipo, já tinha não sabe, você não estaria aqui, então não sabe. Vai, vai ter política. Mas eu não sei se vai. Agora, não tem. Eu sei, eu não sei.
Rashmi, අර රශ්මි කබාබ් කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා මේ එලයිස් එකේ. මම මේ try කරන්න කියලා try කරගෙන රශ්මි කියලා නෝ.
පොරොඩේදී අර එක්ස්ට්‍රා සාස් කරේ
මගේ කම්පියුටර් එක ස්වීට් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් සමහරවිට පොඩා පොට් එකක් වගේ. සාලියා.
Right, let's start after the break. So 20 minutes break. When I check the records, this is 7th session, not the 8th session. This is 7th session operation slide. Right, before the break, I hope remember. Before the break, we understood what location strategy is. Hello? What location strategy is, why that is important for businesses. And then we also identify different factors to consider when deciding the location. At the global level, at the country level, at the site level, different factors are important, different factors are considered. So before moving further, I want you to form into 3 to 5 member groups and quickly think of an organization you know, right? And one of their sites, one of their locations could be the factory, could be a retail outlet or their showroom or whatever, right? Any operations facility you consider. And within 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, quickly identify how appropriate that location is. Right? You can also, you can think of what are the locational advantages they have. Say for an example, you think of a tire factory located in at a site close to Galle, right? You have been to that place, one of you know of the place. So just try to identify, being there at that particular site, what are the locational advantages from operation side? Like for the operations requirements, the space required, or for the inputs required, like various different materials, and then the labor, or from the market side, right? How appropriate this location is, right? Locational advantage. And at the same time, think of some locational disadvantages of that place, right? 1 or 2 points. So likewise, try to evaluate how appropriate that location is, right? Within 5 to 7 minutes. You don't have much time, we don't have much time. So those who have connected online can also think of a place, right? That they have visited, maybe for assignment purpose, maybe as an auditor you have visited there as a client place. So think of a place and quickly identify some factors, some locational advantages, some locational disadvantages of that. Right? You will get 7 minutes starting from now, and you will complete it by 10:30. Quickly form groups, maybe 3 members, maybe 5 members. You can decide and quickly think of a place and move forward. Those who are connected online, I'm not going to split you into groups since it is little difficult for me to handle it here. But you can think of one place that is known to you and identify locational advantages of that factory or outlet, as well as 2, 3 locational disadvantages. Think of a business in Sri Lanka. You can talk, I don't hear anything. Lecture කරන වෙලාවට කතා කරනවා සමහර. දැන් කතා නැහැ. ටක් ගාලා වැඩ. What is the place you are thinking of? That was a Grand Union place. And how about you 2 or 3? Have you decided upon a place? Could be manufacturing, could be service, but it's specific one side, one organization, one side. Think of the location and how appropriate that is for that particular operation, for that particular. The factory. Think of place and the surrounding and its operations, how appropriate that place for that factory. Few reasons, few factors. How about you same group for what? If you go same, and how about you? Shangri-La, have you been to that place or have you heard of it? Yes. Think of common factors if you haven't been to that place. Right? And identify how appropriate that location for a how about you 3? That extra hard. Have you been to that country? Yeah. Think of the location and the surrounding and how appropriate that location is. Right? Limit to the key factors. Don't think about everything. We don't have enough time. Limit the discussion for the key factors. Logistics. What is the topic? Specific one organization and one of their pages. Logistics and operations business. What is that a real business? It's operating. Where how do they have a separate yard as well? Or they are warehouse. Think of one such facility, not in general. Yeah, if you have been to that base, warehouse or the yard, you mentioned the board. If you have been to that base, think of that location. Think of that location. Right. So as a location, how appropriate, how good. Identify at least three advantages, locational advantages, and two locational disadvantages of the business or of the facility you considered for the exam. When those who are here are going to complete it, how about those who are connected online? 2-3 of them probably can unmute their mics and share their points. What is the place you considered, and to what extent that location is appropriate for those operations, those facilities? You can unmute yourself and explain your answers. Make use of this opportunity. Just mention what was the place you thought of. What is the facility and how appropriate that location is. There are 31 participants. This shouldn't be the way. At university, no one is there to explain everything. Even this is too much. No need to explain everything. When we show something, you should be able to understand and understand the rest. You can share your answers. Those who are connected online, please unmute yourself. In the class here, we have a few manufacturing examples, at least 2, and 3 service examples. We will quickly discuss factors they identified here.
Yeah,
Right. I think we have enough time. I mean, don't worry if you couldn't complete everything. So, what if we start from manufacturing example? We have at least two, right? So as I can remember, well, if I give the opportunity to your group, yeah, ACL cables in what is the location? Kaduela area, right? I think some of you have visited the place. That group, at least one or two members have visited the place. In your opinion, the Kaduela factory for ACL cables, in terms of what aspects that location is good? They heavily depend on imported materials, are they? Right, right. So that since the Kaduela is very close to Colombo Harbour, they could or they can easily transport their main materials, which are imported from different countries, directly to their factories within shorter time period. And then, of course, transportation cost would also be, those are heavy, I think, items, right? So that continuous supply is important. That can be easily supplied when they are close to Colombo Harbour. That's a very good point. What else?
And then export part also, they can fix the cables and they will export.
Some of their outputs, their products are exported as well. Right. So on the other side, finished products can be exported through the vessels or through through the marine transportation. That is again transported back to the port. Wow, interesting. So Kaduela is an ideal place for a business like that. And basically they are into exports as well. And do they supply to the local market as well their products? Yes. Okay. How about that part of it? To distribute their products island-wide, would that location be appropriate?
In Kaduala, there is a big pair of so we can store lot of materials, and then you can supply very easily.
Easily. Okay. Even to cover the local market, since the location has enough space, because space requirement is very important. Right. So since the space availability is there in Kaduala area, they can store the products, raw materials as well as products until they are delivered to the market. That's really great. Space availability very close to the Colombo, that is commercial hub. Right. That's very good point. Do you have some more points?
Waste management, they can easily manage the waste management.
How?
So they have a recycle wheel.
Great.
Factories.
Okay.
So they can collect the waste and they can recycle.
Another operational requirement is to manage the waste, recycle the waste that are the byproducts or maybe the wastage of the production, so that they can recycle them using some other factories, some other facilities it requires, and then minimize the environmental damages. So that location help them doing all these things efficiently. So that's a good observation. Very good. Any disadvantages of the location you could see?
Land cost, rental cost is must be.
Right. Being very much close to Colombo, right? Though the space available, initial land cost or the rent would be huge. Right? Huge amount. So that's one main locational disadvantage, because that would impact on the operating cost. Right? How about the location now? Nowadays, flood and various other issues are there. Have they got affected from this? No. Right. So this might be a better place then. Right. So safer place. Otherwise, things should be dangerous. Thank you very much for that example. We have one more manufacturing example. I don't know whether they are ready. Hello? Are you ready with some points? So, okay. So we have another example, manufacturing one, that is a tire factory located in Horana, right? Within the industrial zone. What we call it, industrial BOI EPZs in Horana, within which this tire factory is located. Horana is a good place, right? And then, especially for that business, why do you think that industrial state is an appropriate location for this factory?
So mainly,
Listen to them.
so the main advantage is located in BY export process.
Okay. Being within that location, BOI approved location gives them a lot of advantages. Like,
Such as tax reliefs and customer benefits and investment opportunities and regularity processes.
Wow. All the concessions offered for BOI approved projects can be enjoyed there, right? So that's an advantage. Can you understand it? Right. So do they only export their output, or
Yes, since it is a BY register, they are not allowed.
they are not allowed to supply to the local market? Okay, so all the output should be exported. Okay, great.
So the other one is it is easy to get the main input, which is rubber, natural rubber.
Natural
So the one is rubber cultivated
area.
So,
Surrounding places are also known for rubber outputs, right? So natural rubber, one of the main ingredients, can be continuously obtained from the natural rubber suppliers located there. Great.
that advantage we only figure out.
Okay.
So we have another disadvantage.
Okay.
So there's a little bit distance from the port to Colombo port to Florida, which is about 50 to 60 kilometers. So that is
Could be time, and then time constraints, could be then transportation cost as well. More than the cost, I think the distance and during peak hours, it might take more than 2 hours sometimes to transport their heavy, 60 feet containers to the harbor. Maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, could be a longer time when they are running short of time and trying to meet delivery schedules and all. So that's also a good observation, because it takes a little longer time. How about labor? Finding qualified or trained labor in that area, would that be easier compared to many other places?
maybe they hire labor through manpower.
Manpower companies. Don't they operate with some permanent labor categories?
They also have less, I think,
Time to time they hire from manpower company. Thank you very much for bringing that example. That's a very good example. We have a few service examples as well. They have logistics business, right? And they are warehouse, and then they are, what is the location? What other operations they do to manage? Freight forwarding. Okay. Cargo clearing and all. Their office and their facilities are located where? Near the port. Colombo Port, Colombo 14. Colombo 1. Okay. Right. So in your opinion, what are the main advantages of that location? Haha. For their bring in the containers and other things to their warehouse and then send them out. The minimum distance is that
Easy access to port.
area easy access to port. Okay, that's a very good point. And then a unique advantage as well. Being a freight forwarding and clearing service provider, being very much close to harbor, is a unique advantage. Do they have enough space there? That is one of the disadvantages. But they are not going to store their, keep the containers for very long time, I guess. So the available space could be enough. Right, okay. What else? What are the other locational advantages? Being close to repeat it. Vast clearing of import. Fast handling. Okay. For that, do you think being close to the port is important? Okay. And what else? So those are the main points. And the main disadvantage is not having enough space for their warehouse. Okay, good observation. Right. In case of expansions, they would find it very difficult to find more space in surrounded area. So definitely they have to go to outside the main suburb. Very good. We have one example that is hello, who's your one? Commercial bank, Union Place. Union Place. Where that is located, Union Place? Which side of it? Union Place. Main 138 route or no? Colombo to have Union Place තමයි. Oh, Union Place තමයි කොයි පැත්තට වෙන්නද? නව ලෝකෙට හැපෙච්ච වගේද? ඒකේ මේ කියන්නේ මේ වර්ක් මේ පැත්තට එන පාරේද? ඔව්. එතන. ඕකේ. බස් නවත්තන්න බෑ, කාර් නවත්තන්න බෑ, පයි යන්න බෑ. ඒ වගේ තැනක තියෙන කාරණා. Okay. So you think are there location advantages? So what? Customer convenience, they have identified as customer convenience. Customers can easily get the access. Is that? What else? What is it? Multinational companies are nearby. Okay, being close to the Colombo hub, Colombo. The phone, and then of course the above areas. You think being physically close is very important, right? Okay. But I have different ideas. Anyway, do you think that location is advantageous to them? How about the space available for car parking and all? And that is one disadvantage, locational disadvantage. Very smart. And for that, no need to be physically there, right? Even far away places. And then those decisions are not based on the physical location, right? Right? And any other locational advantages? So any locational disadvantage? Location. Customers might decide where to open their bank accounts and do the transactions with, not basically depend on the physical branches. So, right, where it is exactly. So not only based on one branch they decide, actually based on the branch network. How many branches are there, where they are located and all, not specifically based on one branch. Right, but I appreciate your attempt and your effort. Maintenance, strength and maintenance, that's main disadvantage. Yes, very good. But to operate in that area, they have a physical branch there, they have decided to operate from there. Thank you. We have Hambantota Shangri-La Hotel. Hello? Locational advantages of that place?
It's located in southern coast.
Okay, southern coastal area. Okay. Okay. Only rooms and other facilities available or other conferences and what we call them, MICE tourism and all what they call it. So conferences and various other events and all can be taken place there, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All the facilities are there, is that? Is that a plus point? Sometimes it do feel it's see. Plus, since the highway facilities are there, infrastructure facilities are there, it's 2 hours away from Colombo, right? 2 hours away from Colombo due to highway facilities, highway infrastructure. Destinations like what? Yeah, right. Qatar. And then from there to Al and side also then really. So particular to that side also, right? So from there they can cover several tourist destinations that customers would look for. So that's a plus point. Yes. Away from the city congestion, right? Little far away and rural areas, and then the natural environment facing to city, sorry, facing to sea, right?
Yeah.
Facing to sea side of it, right? So sea, sand, sun available. So that is the main form of tourism we have here in Sri Lanka. Sea, sand, and sun. That is owned by the Shangri-La company, right? Chinese ownership. One of the investments. And that is in line with their long-term strategic investments as well. So they have carefully planned it. Any locational disadvantage you could identify? How about others? Hello? That's the වැඩකින් දැන්ටත් message reply කරනවා. කවදා කරගන්න බැරිද යාළුවා? This is send me down reply. දාලා බලන්නකො හම්බෙයිද කියන්නේ. Any locational disadvantage? මේ කක්කේ උත්තර දියාගත්තොත් ලකුණු භාගයක් කරගන්න. Locational disadvantage is very මොනවද දෙයක් හිතාගන්න පුළුවන්. Price only country, naturally friendly, convenient, comfortable weather conditions නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ. heavy mechanic dry zone එකක් locate වෙලා තියෙන heat conditions වලට සමහර tourists ලා they don't prefer that option, I guess. Especially coming from Western Europe during their winter season they come here, but this is too much for them. They then stay a few days and then go to the hill country. Opportunities for expanding the facilities in case if they need. That is possible, right? Enough space is available. Nightlife. Nightlife, huh? Is that now okay, nightlife option? You mean to say that it will be far away from Colombo, so that that is limited to the basic experiences they can provide, not the other facilities available in this part of the country. That's good observation. Very good point. I really appreciate it. And the last group here, you thought of Practice or its manufacturing facility. What are the key locational advantages? Lower logistics cost because it is very much close to other infrastructure facilities, Colombo port and all, right? So very low transportation cost and logistics cost. What else? Wow, that's interesting. There are many suppliers. There are many service providers, right, which are required. So they are readily available. They can easily connect to the network. That's a plus point. What else? Despite heavy congestions and all, they can still provide deliver products faster than many other locations. Finished products can be delivered to the port faster compared to many other locations. That's another plus point. Is that all? Fast inbound and outbound logistics distribution is another locational advantage. I agree with that. Is that all? Yeah. In case any one or two locational disadvantages.
Higher relationship price.
Okay, salary. Cost of labor is relatively high because they have to hire people from the surrounded area where the labor rates are, the wage rates are relatively high, and the availability of labor is also problematic, right, compared to suburbs and rural areas. Continuous labor supply would not be easier. That's a constraint.
Limited space to expand.
Only limited space in case if they want to expand, they are unable to expand it. And then land expand it horizontally, and then limited space availability is another. And how about the land cost for the rent and all? That would be huge, given that is very much close to Colombo. Almost. Those are plus points, right? So for good attempt. There are many examples here. You came up with different examples and different factors. So I hope even in the exams you will be able to take one example, right? One business and one of their facilities or two of them, and identify how appropriate that location is, given the normal operations, supply side of it, market side of it, and other factors to consider, how appropriate that location is. Highlighting both the locational advantages and one or two locational disadvantages. Now, coming to the last part of the handout, where we try to identify how to make location decisions in a systematic manner, in a better way. This is not a hard and fast rule, but some of these 3 steps would be useful for that matter. Step number 1. The decision-making team should first of all identify what are the key factors that we should consider. They can make a list of factors and prioritize them. And these are the key factors we should consider. We call them dominant location factors, or most critical location factors to consider, right? So from business to business, industry to industry, the factors to consider could be varied. They have to identify what are the factors relevant for our business. Say for an example, for different businesses, different factors could be relevant that we have already discussed. Here also, for manufacturing industry, some of these factors. Transportation cost of raw materials, shipment cost of finished products, energy cost, utility cost, availability of labor, availability of raw materials, taxes, and other points. Plus other intangible aspects of it, like what they have mentioned here, education of the government, education expenditure of the government, so that the education levels of the people. Unions, labor unions, and many other factors. And we have already identified some more factors, right? For services, more than the cost side of it, as we identified, some revenue factors are relevant, especially customer drawing area. If you have to decide upon a location for a retail business, supermarket outlet, assume you are going to work for, you are hired by Softlogic. What is the supermarket? Glowmark. They are in the process of expanding their outlets. And assign you as a team member to identify next location somewhere in Nugegoda Maharagama area. Right, when they want to expand it. So one main factor you have to consider is the size of the custom drawing area and their demographic factors like the income levels, lifestyles, like such factors. So their purchasing power and also the competition in the area. How many other retail outlets are located in the surrounded area? Considering them, you are to propose one location that is more appropriate for their next outlet. So like the example mentioned, I'll go back to that later, but that is step number 1. Identify list of dominant location factors. Step number 2 is, rather than just selecting one place, it is good if we can identify potential places, at least a few alternatives that we can evaluate in the third step and select the best one. So that is the process. Just to have an idea. So rather than just select one place, we can follow a process like this. First, identify number of factors to consider, then identify different alternative locations available. In the third step, we can evaluate locations and select the best place, most suitable place. When it comes to evaluations, there are different techniques, methods used. Mostly, these evaluations are done using quantitative techniques, using numbers, formula, calculations. There are many such quantitative techniques. Some of them are mentioned here. Right. Techniques like this. Have you heard of them? I think so. Especially break-even analysis, you know. HPP analysis, you know. For different locations, you gather data, cost, revenue, investment requirements, and then you analyze the suitability of each location using NPV analysis, break-even analysis, and select the best location. More specifically, there are techniques like location factor rating method that I will explain within 2-3 minutes. And then there are other techniques like load distance model, center of gravity method, transportation method, decision trees. Right? Those are quantitative approaches. In certain situations, if you do not have numbers to deal with, but if you want to select the best place, they can also evaluate alternative places using qualitative approach, like the judgments, opinions of the experts. Based on the opinions, qualitative judgments, they can consider and select the best place. And in some approaches, both opinions and numbers are combined and accordingly make the decisions. That is called a mixed approach, right? So that is for evaluation. Is that clear? So by evaluating options in a systematic manner, decision makers can decide the best place. I'm not going to explain all these techniques, but only one or two I will describe. I might take only 5 to 7 minutes. Probably we'll conclude the lecture by 11:15. So the main technique that I want to explain you is a technique called location factor rating method. Location factor rating method, which is more practical in selecting better locations. Anyone like with minimum training can make use of this technique to evaluate different alternatives and select the best location. Let's quickly identify what this technique is, how this can be used to evaluate locations. Slide number 27 shows you the steps to follow. It begins with identifying the relevant location factors. You know, for a garment factory, what are the for this one? What are the factors we going to consider? For a hotel, some other factors. For a cable manufacturing factory, different other factors. For a retail outlet, some other factors. So like we have to identify. Now the example mentioned here, this is for a factory. See, they have identified these location factors. Labor pool and labor climate, what they call it. Labor pool, availability of enough workers and type of relationship they maintain and the wage rates and all. So labor climate means including unions. Unionization we call it, unions. Likewise, they have identified more factors: proximity to suppliers, wage rates, community environment, proximity to customers, shipping modes and air services. Second step is to develop a weighting or scale for each factor. That can be done in many different ways. But this approach, using 1 to 0 for weights. Hope you can see it here. Weights are assigned to each factor based on what? Based on the importance of the factor. Most important factors are assigned with higher weights. Least important factors are assigned with lower weights. When we do it, right? When we do it, we have to do it in a way that the total of weight equals 1. Clear? Total of weights equals 1. So our calculations would be easier because we can consider the importance of each factor based on the weight, and the calculations would also be easier when we do it in that way. But there are other ways also. Coming to the third step, then we have to identify the most suitable alternatives. If we have a long list, this would be difficult. So we can reduce the list by shortlisting it and identify most important 3 locations, 5 locations, and consider it in the final analysis. In this example, you see 3 sites, site 1, 2, and 3. Exact sites. See, site 1 is in Colombo 2. Site 2 is in Ratnapura, one place. Site 3 in Kurunegala, one place. So likewise, specific locations. Right. And what is the step number 3? Subjectively score each location for each factor using a score between 0 to 100. Right? 100 means most appropriate. 0, least appropriate. Who are going to assign this score? Who are going to assign this score? experts. The panel will decide depending on the appropriateness of that location. Right. So in the example, as you see it here, see now for the site 1, for labor pool and the climate, they have assigned 80 out of 100. For site 2, 65 out of 100. Site 3, 90 out of 100. For labor pool and labor climate. That is the scope. So which site is more appropriate, more suitable in terms of labor pool and labor climate? Is that site 1, 2, or 3? Site number 3, right? Because the experts have assigned highest score for that. So likewise, for each factor, team should assign a score for each location. That is called score. Step number 4, we are to multiply the score by the weighting factor and get the weighted score. In a way like this, multiply 80 by 0.3 and get 24. So likewise, we are to get the weighted scores for each factor, for each site, and add them together and get the total weighted score. Now, in the example, you see 3 total weighted scores and make the decision based on the value. Usually, which site would be selected? Yes, the site that has highest total weighted score would be selected as the best location. Right. So this is one technique. What is the name of it? Location factor weighting method. There are other techniques also. You may go through them, but write this down somewhere. Maybe the same example you selected for the activity. Right? Identify the key location factors for that business. At least, let's say 5 key factors. 5 key location factors. Five key location factors applicable for the facility you consider. It could be garment factory, it could be cable manufacturing, it could be retail outlet, it could be hotel, whatever. For different facilities, different factors are relevant, right? So identify 5 such factors relevant, appropriate for that facility, and assume three alternative locations. Assume, right? Assume that you have a slot there, you have a site there, right? Empty space is available for you to establish your facility if you need. So assume such places. Let's reduce that to 3, right? 3 places, and then try to evaluate those 3 sites in terms of the factors you identify using location factor rating method, and see which location you would select based on the total weighted score. Total weighted score. Other location evaluation techniques, some of them you are familiar with. There is one that I have mentioned here. BEP analysis, not the BEP that you are familiar with. Little different. Since it takes time, I am not going to explain it. But the last slide, I might take 2 minutes. At the beginning, we identified usually location decisions are for long term. Once you decided upon a location, you can't change it off. However, due to some reasons, in the long run, businesses will have to change their locations, their facility locations, due to various different reasons. So we can't ignore that fact. Due to some reasons, businesses will have to change their facility locations. So here you get few reasons. There can be many other reasons also. Maybe due to capacity requirements. If the existing place is not enough, they will have to expand the capacity in some other place. So they have to change the location. When certain raw materials are changed, especially factories using natural resources, when the natural resources are over in that particular area, operating from the same location may no longer advantageous. So they are changing the locations. When the market demand is changing, they have to change the locations. When companies introduce new products for which the operations requirements, materials, and the markets are different, it's a good idea to operate from another location that is advantageous for them, not from the same place. Due to changes in political conditions, economic conditions, businesses decide to change the locations. During the last 5 to 7 to 10 years time, some of the garment factories that were operating from Sri Lanka, they discontinue their operations here and relocate their factories in Bangladesh, Kenya, Southeast Asian countries, Vietnam. Considering the economic condition changes, unfavorable exchange rates, economic uncertainties, many reasons. Such could impact on location changes. Plus natural disasters as well. Like what? Floods, landslides, tsunami, and there can be other reasons also. That clear? What did we discuss about today? We talked about operations, facility location, known as location strategy. So a business should carefully select the location strategy because if they select the right place, there are many advantages for them. If they do not take it seriously and make short-sighted decisions, right? Consequences will be there in the long run. There will be a lot of problems, issues. We identified how to make this decision, what factors to consider, right? And towards end, we identified what are the techniques available for evaluating locations and select the best location. In fact, we discussed only one technique, that is location factor rating. I think with that we can conclude this topic. Let's meet next week to start another topic. Thank you. Take good care.